Good morning. Move my Tim Cuts product placement for our Facebook audience. Letting him know we're down with Tim Hortons today on Grey Cup Sunday. So welcome. Let's just take a moment to just relax. The more we can relax and we come together in a sacred space that we create, it becomes sacred because we make it sacred. We allow it. We welcome it. So I invite you to just join me in the welcome, which really requires us to be out of our heads and into our hearts. And so as you circulate that energy and the awareness, I invite you that we are so infinitely powerful. So infinitely powerful. I want to remind you of that. You know this already. I'm not going to tell you anything today you don't already know. I'm just going to use words and ideas and something that I've put together that I think helps us all live in that energetic flow of light. And so let's come together today in that light, that love. Think of something you're grateful for. Allow that thought of gratitude to drop into your heart. It doesn't have to be big or grand. It can be small and precious. You can just feel the energy shift. So beautiful. So it becomes a container, an incubator of unconditional love. And it's just choosing who we've come here to be. We decide in this moment who we are. We stop letting the world tell us who we are. That is powerful practice. So thank you for that. Because you are here to be loved and loved. You are here to be peaceful, wise, intelligent, brilliant, prosperous, and abundant. In this moment, you are prosperous and abundant. And so with that said, I just give thanks. Let's move into our 30 seconds of silence now that we've prepared ourselves. Then I will offer a chant. Please join me, if you would, in this very room. And if you don't, let the music and the voices move through you, because it is a prayer, and then I will offer a prayer. So let's begin. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough love and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, one Spirit, is in this very room, in this very room, in this very room. And so what I invite you to know with me is there's one life. That life is God, that life is Spirit, that life is Source. That life is divine, loving intelligence. Whatever designator you use that lifts you up is what's important, not somebody else's word for this energetic field of infinite possibility, of love, of wisdom, of clarity. But what I know in this moment as I open myself, as I speak these words to you, I am open to it in a new way. And something is being done unto me that I cannot even describe. There's a wave of life and light that is washing through me in this moment, that is cleansing, because it knows what health looks like. It knows what wisdom looks like. It knows what vibrancy looks like. And I choose to live in that flow of life, into that dynamic energy, and I choose to be open and receptive, to take on in my own awareness, in my own journey, things that make me uncomfortable. Because what I know about being uncomfortable is they have come to point me the way to what is longing to be healed and transformed. And so you and I get to be agents of transformation because we can stand in the resilience, the uncertainty, and the unknowing, and understand that there is only one life. That life is God, that life is spirit, that life is my life right here and right now. There is nothing that can ever diminish us, but unless we latch onto a belief that diminishes us. And that is not a problem. That is just simply a miscalculation. So let us calculate well. Let us know that our discussion this day, that the consciousness upon these words, that the presence of Dr. Ernest Holmes, of the great teachers, Jesus of Nazareth, the Buddha, and all the great avatars that have come down through the ages, have a place here because we welcome all traditions. And we stand on the lineage of the great wisdom and the great truth of all of them, because each one, when you drill down, when you dig to the depths of it, arrives at the same location, in that beautiful pocket of love. For this I give thanks. I release these words. I fully release them because I do not need to be involved with what I have declared other than the fact that I pay attention. And I know that this infinite intelligence informs me of what is mine to do. I live in that co-creation, that partnership, as do you. If you forget, it's okay. Just come back. For this I give thanks, and together we say, so it is. All righty. So today, I want to talk to you about awakening to you, because that's what we're awakening to. We're not awakening to something other than ourselves. We are awakening to ourselves, to you. And so I've been doing some work with the spiral dynamics, so I'm going to put a slide up here. I said I would talk about blue today. I'm going to talk about blue briefly. I'm going to talk about orange briefly. They're the next two rungs on the ladder of cultural evolution. And there's a lot of information online. You don't have to buy the Spiral Dynamics book. If you Google Spiral Dynamics, there's chart after chart after chart. So there's plenty of information out there. But I want to talk to you about it because it's a nice roadmap. But I really want to get into some practices today that I think can help us define our roles more clearly. And so during the middle of the week, some things sort of downloaded for me, and I said, yeah, but it's time for this now. So I'm going to do blue and orange today, and we'll do green next week, and I'll talk about more of the practices that are available to us. So awakening to you. Was it something I said, Daniel? Okay. He's a great guy. I know it's. And thank you, Tim Hortons. Maybe Tim Hortons will become one of our corporate sponsors. What do you think? You never know, huh? Stranger things have happened. Probably not. So blue. So blue is the next rung. We did beige. What else did we do? Purple. We did red last week. And now we're at blue. So I just want to give you one slide on blue. It gives you some of the designators of it. And so this blue is about developing our role ourselves. And today I want to share with you some of the things that help evolve us in our roles. So I was inspired by this slide. I said, I want to talk about those roles. How do we get more traction in our lives? How can we activate this infinite intelligence that we live in? Why are we living in forms of limitation or struggle or despair? And what practices can we incorporate? And I'm teaching you what I'm practicing. So it's not like I'm telling you what to do. I'm telling myself what to do in the process, because it's an ongoing thing, and I love this. See, I love the ongoing nature of this, the discovery of it, and what we stand for. Because it is about that. We've been sent here. You and I have been sent here. We all have. We forget that. We fall asleep to so much, and I feel so blessed to have this philosophy, this way of life in my life. So blue is about roles. So we grow up, and it's actually around the years of 7 to 8 years old where we start to get into these roles. This is all these first tiers are very much, green takes us up to about the age of 21. 14 to 21, I'll talk about that next week. But blue is really about the ages of 7 to 8. So when you see an adult acting like an 8-year-old, you understand they're in blue. It's good to know that, isn't it? Rather than have to judge them, to do the otherizing, making them the problem with me. So blue is 5,000 years ago. It's the nation state. It's authoritarian. It's the rule of law. Life has meaning, direction, and purpose with predetermined outcomes. So at that point in time when it came along, you were born into a certain caste. You were born into a certain environment, and that was yours. That was your cross to bear, perhaps, or your role to play. So fascinating how this works. So at 7 and 8 years old, it happens for us on this path. Our quest in this is ultimate peace. That's what we're after in blue, ultimate peace. So when we bring more order to our lives And this is a great principle. When you have order in your life, you have greater peace, greater awareness. You have greater bandwidth. Make sense? When you have peace. Or what about, Luann, what do you think? When you have more chaos, do you have more, do you have more? Okay, good, thank you. It's just make sure you're following me. So the method, follow the given rules and don't exceed your role. Don't get too big for your britches. You ever heard that one? Yeah, don't get a big head. I'd come home, I'd get an award at school, I'd come home, first thing my mother would say, don't get a big head. Okay, kind of like reaching your hand out to shake mom's hand, and it was like, oh, okay, it's not. I'll just go hide in my room. So don't exceed your roles. The pitfall. See, each one of these, the great thing about this is with the Q process, and thank you, Darlene, for doing our announcements today and presiding. Yeah. The 11:30 crowd is a lot livelier, by the way. 10 o'clock, some of the jokes just kind of, it's like an air ball. It's like, oh, well, it's funny, but you're not awake yet. It's okay. We're asleep. So anyway, the pitfall. So everything has a pitfall. Everything has a shadow. The pitfalls are archetypical role identification. So we get locked into one role. I'm this, I'm that, and we're all the archetypes available to us. But we take on a certain persona. There's a script pathology, so we get stuck in our script. There's fundamentalism and fascism come out of this. So this need to control and have order becomes the priority. Fascism is when business controls government. I'm not saying any more about that, but just an interesting observation, isn't it? It's because it makes people feel safe. The more we can control everything and everyone, we can feel safe. And that's the pitfall because it doesn't allow us to be creative. So then, orange comes along. And orange is from 9 to 14. So next week we'll go from 14 to 21, which is green. But I'm just going to give you quick slides on this because I know it's time to dive into this stuff in a more practical way. That you can get some traction on this because all this other stuff is just theory and head stuff. But it's important to know it, I believe. So orange is the achiever self, 9 to 14 years. It showed up about 300 years ago. It was the birth of capitalism and democracy. Beautiful things, capitalism and democracy. So it's act in your, and so the theme there is to act in your own self-interest by playing the game to win. I can barely see that. I'm sorry, that orange just doesn't, well, I can kind of see it. The quest is material pleasure. Anybody ever been after material pleasure? That's when we're in orange, getting that stuff, and that's what Wall Street is. That's what all the marketing is. That's what all the advertising is. My great-great-grandfather did not have a television or a radio. Isn't it fascinating to think how we're influenced by this? So, the method, learn to excel, set goals, achieve, measure success. Go, go, go. One of the great archetypes in this is the pusher. Pusher. Many of us live in pusher all the time. We need our pusher sometimes to get it done. The Oilers just hired a new coach. Did anybody hear about that? Yeah, I guess he's a pusher. So in other words, he's really focused on getting the puck into the net with the boys. And he says, you guys are going to do it, not me. I'm just going to help you. So get going, boys. So he's not there to make friends. He's there to help them excel, to do something that they can't do on their own. And I feel the same way. I'm not here to push, but I'm here to enroll and empower because all of us have something to give. I can completely identify with this whole metaphor because we all have something, and I do too. And so I've got to hold myself to a standard, and I've got to practice things so I can speak from a sense of authority and a sense of, this has been my experience, which gives me the authority in a sense that, hey, I'm there with you. And so it's an opportunity, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful opportunity because we don't know how the story's going to end yet. So the pitfalls, the shadow in this is identity crisis. So we get so busy doing things, we leave part of ourselves out. We leave the heart out. That's where green comes in. We get so busy doing and doing and doing, and then we lose part of ourselves. The role confusion, consumerism, ecological crisis, workaholism, goal fixation, over-attachment to successful methods. So it's all about the goal at the end of the day. It's not about who we're being and achieving the goal, but that's why green came along. And so we'll talk about green. So today I want to share a quote with you. This is from Dr. Joseph Campbell. And he was an amazing cultural anthropologist. He taught at Sarah Lawrence University for years and years. And he did a series of interviews with Bill Moyers. So if you've never seen Bill Moyers and Joseph Campbell, I recommend it. It's about a 7-hour series. It was on PBS a number of years ago, probably 30 years ago now. But Joseph Campbell said this: briefly formulated, the universal doctrine teaches that all the visible structures of the world, all things and all beings, are the effects of a ubiquitous power out of which they rise, which supports and fills them during the period of their manifestation, and back into which they must ultimately dissolve. This is the power known to science as energy. So what he's saying is we're all energy. We come from energy, we are energy, and we return to energy. That's the truth of our being. To the Melanesians, this was known as manna. To the Sioux Indians, as Wakanda. To the Hindus, as Shakti, and the Christians, as the power of God. Its manifestation is this, in the psyche is termed by the psychoanalyst libido, and its manifestation in the cosmos is the structure and flux of the universe itself. So he's just speaking about this universal energy and how different cultures they give narrative to it because they all understand that. The Chinese had the Tao, and they have the Tao. The Buddhist, all traditions have this. The Christians, the Holy Spirit. So we see it, and so we need some definition to recognize it. We would say there's one life. That life is perfect. That life is God. That life is my life now. So there's 3 practices of transformation that I want to talk to you about today, but I want to set it up a little bit because we are the ones that have been sent here to make a difference. You and I. You and I have been sent here to make a difference. And it's important for us to order our intentions and our awareness because the whole world, if we don't, will order our awareness by telling us, oh, this is what you're missing, or this is what you need, or this is what you need to feel okay. And we are here to co-create rather than create out of our limitation. Most people create out of limitation. But the world will tell us what we need to feel good about ourselves. Have you noticed that? I think we've all gotten over the mourning that the Eskimos are not in the Grey Cup. Why we would need to mourn that or be disappointed in any way, shape, or form is I get it, but it's just attachment. It's expectation. But see, the problem is we were all of us were born into an imperfect caregiving environment. In other words, your mom and dad were not Joseph and Mary. Anybody here, Joseph and Mary? Okay, me too. And so, we didn't get the message. You and I probably didn't get the message as young children that we were sent by God. Anybody? Did your parents say to you were sent by God? Nice. Daniel got that. That's awesome. So you're a little bit farther ahead, but you probably forgot that already. Okay, he says take that away. So consequently, what happens is we fall asleep to our own divine nature. This is the path. This is not a problem. This is what happens. We fall asleep to our own divine nature. Our brain science, 95% of our behavior is reflective. It's habitual. We just respond by habit. 95%. We got 5% bandwidth available to us for something new. And so what happens is that any effort we put forth is typically eclipsed by the unconscious habits of our nature. That is the way we do ourselves. That's our role. This is how I do myself. You say this, and I know exactly what I'm going to say to you because I've been rehearsing it for years in front of my mirror and in my car driving to and from work. And so we just don't even most don't even consider there's another way to do that. We can pray all we want, but our habits of being will negate all that stuff. I'm not saying don't pray. That's why I say have a practitioner. I'm going to share something from Living the Science of Mind from Dr. Holmes around affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer is such a powerful tool. We can have all the things that we think make us okay, but those things are always negated by I'm not enough, there's something wrong with me, I'm not okay, and so we have to do something about that. How many are dealing with lack? Anybody here dealing with lack? I've got my hand up. I'm dealing with lack. Sandra's dealing with lack. Okay, I want to talk about that with you in a moment here. So the brain science says this. This is brain science. This isn't mystical. This isn't esoteric. This isn't spiritual. This is what brain science says. It says, if we become conscious of how we spend money, our habit of spendings are unconscious. If you track your spending, you will have a 20% increase in income. Did you know that? Now, you can buy 5 of these for like $1 at the dollar store. That's why they call it the dollar store. And I have extras here. If somebody is really, really committed to tracking, you get one of these. Now, I'm going to write down in this book, bought 2, bought 5. Memo pads for $1. Okay. So if anyone would like one of these, I'm going to get some of these made up with the Center for Spiritual Living for a gift for the new year for our members. I want to get 125 of these made up. I'll say Center for Spiritual Living on here. And see, the first thing I should have written in here was my cue card. I should have this is who I've come here to be. But I can write that down here. But if you track that, if you start tracking what you're spending, you make your spending conscious. You'll give yourself a 20% raise. Do you know that if you write down everything you eat, anybody here like to lose a few pounds, like to lose 20%? You will have a reduction if you consistently write down what you eat. You will drop 20% of your body weight. That's fascinating. It's brain science. You can do this for free. You don't have to take a class. You don't have to fly anywhere. You don't have to buy. You have to buy this. It's about $1. The dollar store. It's a practice to become conscious. And when we write it down, there's a kinesthetic thing there. So anyway, just saying. And I have 3 more of these. I guess I left the 4th one at home because I'm filling that one up too. So these are on sale today here for $20 a piece, but you can get them at the dollar store for $1. So you decide, do you want to be conscious about it or not? See, so you have to make the pilgrimage to go get one of these things. Write it down. Write it down. 20%. And you don't have to go find a new job. You just got to write down how you're spending your money. So waking up is important. It places us in a conscious relationship with what we are having. So we can create different choices, different choice points that can move us out of our habits of being. So can you see that to be aware that this is my habit, but when I'm awake to my habit, it becomes my opportunity to choose in a new way. Oh, this is my habit. But wait a minute, I'm awake to it now because I'm tracking it. I don't have to do that anymore. Wow. Isn't that beautiful to know that? And that's not the 3 things I want to share with you, but that's just the appetizer. So waking up, you can use the metaphor, waking up for a long nap is a way to look at this. What are we asleep to? What are we asleep to? We are asleep to the idea, to the reality and the truth that you are infinite and eternal, that God sent us. And don't think of God as a man, but this energy sent us, called us forth here and now. Isn't that beautiful to know? We have a divine purpose. We're asleep to our divine self, that I am the one. You and I are the ones we're sent by God, sent by this infinite presence. The beautiful teacher Jesus said, these things I have done, you shall do and even greater. Now we have the brain science, the neuroscience to understand that better. We are asleep to owning and loving ourselves. That's the truth of it. To owning and loving ourselves. That's the truth. When we own and love ourselves, all of ourselves, that's why we brought the CUBE process into this community. To help create wholeness, to love it all, the parts of ourselves that we don't love. So if you don't like, does anybody here not like people being angry? Like not angry people? Yeah. And so what happens is that when we can own the angry person within ourselves, you may have been told as kids, don't be angry. You weren't allowed to be angry, whatever it may be. We weren't allowed to own our anger. And so when we see it being triggered out there, it triggers within us because we haven't integrated it. So then when somebody's angry, we have a whole different experience with it. Because then we can ask them a question. We can say, you appear to be angry. Is there something you'd like me to know? Is there something missing in the relationship? See, because we're not triggered and feel like we have to flee or get away or push back, we can just simply be present. Because it has nothing to do with us. So this is called healthy-mindedness. This is called islands of sanity. So we are asleep to owning and loving ourselves, the truth of us. We're separate from that. We're asleep to the place within ourselves that knows our worth. That knows our worth. Precious beyond measure. So important. And all that conditioning that goes on. So they say that the 2 most important days of our life are the day we are born and the day we figure out why we were born. You figured out yet why you're born? Well, that's okay. All you have to do is work with the question, why was I born? What is my purpose? What is mine to do here? What is the truth of me? Awakening means recovering from the story of separation, recovering from the unintended consequence of living as if we are separate and apart from the one life that is seeking to empower us. So we have habits. We have habits of doing. We have habits of being. We have habits of having. We have habits of feeling. We have habits of believing and habits of perceiving. It's a lot of stuff. I'm going to talk about it more and more, so don't worry about it. You don't need to memorize them today. But we have habits. That's the point. And we have yet to come to understand our body's mind circuitry that is part of these mechanisms that creates our personal reality and the unintended consequences, as if the mechanism is who we are. We think our habits is who we are. Our habits are just our habits. They're not who we are, but we think they are. You know, I'm a Red Blocks fan, or I'm a Calgary Stampeder fan. Well, good for you, but it's not who you are. It's just something you've identified with. It's not the truth of your being. We have yet to come to understand our body-mind circuitry. So this mechanism we have that creates our reality, there's a part of us that keeps us connected to our conditioning, which is not the truth of us, a conditioned sense of self. That's what we have. That's what we have. We all have it. Every one of us. We're all in that club. Good news. But it's not who we are. It's what we have, but it's not who we are. This is what we use when we are not conscious. When we are awake, we have access to a power to create that is not attached to our conditioning. And that is why we must have spiritual practice that reconditions our circuitry to create a different personal reality. Make sense? So we understand it and see it without judging it and making it bad and wrong, but understanding it is, wow, I get to rewire my circuitry here. I get to identify with something different than I've spent a whole lifetime identifying with. We wake up feeling so an example, you wake up feeling discomfort, and then you go and you read your emails, and then you go to Facebook, and pretty soon you're just feeling miserable. Because what happens is our habit is to live in a system that informs us about our well-being. They just did a study to talk about the amount of depression that is created by social media. That's not a surprise. My gosh. We live in a self-system that informs us, and we take on habits that become our way of being. But once again, it's not us. We live in a self-system that believes we are our thoughts, we are our beliefs, we are our things, we are our stories. And if we find ourselves living from our habits and unconscious patterns, certain life conditions will mirror back to us how crummy life is. Right? Anybody ever had that experience? Life's crummy? Of course. Because we are being driven and informed by our habits of being. And when we don't have spiritual practice, it brings us back to the truth of ourselves, which is this infinite divine field, that we are eternal and unstoppable. That's why we put these Q qualities up. It's time for all of us to start playing in a grander, more fulfilled and whole way. Otherwise, we're just going to sit around here and point fingers at one another and blame and shame. Believe me, it happens. The projections, the unhealed stuff coming on and on and on. And not that there isn't room for improvement. But that interaction takes us nowhere. We just circling the wagons. And who's ever the loudest voice and has got the deepest habits, and because they've got the answer, which they think they do, we all, well, okay. So what happens is people leave, and it just becomes a dance, a dysfunctional dance. I was raised in a dysfunctional family. It was perfect. I did that for 20 years. And finally I said, hey, guys, I'm going to go find another group to be dysfunctional with, but thank you so much. I love you. I'll send a postcard every once in a while. Christmas, I'll call you. How's that? Worked out well for me. So anyway, 3 practices. I'll get through them because I only got 4 minutes left, so this is good. So we'll talk about it again next week a little bit because it's so important, but I want to touch on these because these are simple things, but so deep. So the 3 practices of evolutionary empowerment. The first one, tracking. Tracking. You have to track it. If you say to yourself, oh, wait a minute, so around insufficiency, around lack, oh, wait a minute, I'm experiencing not enough. Right now I'm tracking. I'm experiencing not enough. Where does that take me? Because that's uncomfortable, tracking I'm not enough. There's not enough. Well, what do I do with that? The moment that you understand that you are living your life through a belief, then you can question. When you track yourself, say, I'm experiencing not enough. You can ask yourself this question. Is this true? Is it true there's not enough? What I have is, now, it's not denying reality, because you can say, what I have right now is insufficient. But I have made what I have insufficient because of my belief. What I have right now is insufficient, but I have made what I have insufficient because I have a belief around insufficiency. Not enough is not the truth. What I have is insufficient, but I have made that what I have because of my belief. So I am still dealing with not enough out here. But my focus is now working within myself to be transformed in that. So I have a cue card, and I script and I write. I get a little book at the dollar store and I write down, hey, I got a strategy here around not enough. I have my cue card here. I've come here to be abundant and free and prosperous and joyful and healthy. It takes work. It takes work. It takes effort to say, you know what, I am gonna bring mastery to my life. I'm gonna move in a different direction. The truth is that this is a belief that I took on, and I don't have to have this belief. I can sense a feeling of gratitude and connection to what right now is supporting me and knowing that all my needs are being met and taken care of. We can do that right now. I'm having my life is more than enough right now. Whatever I got, it's more than enough. I'm going to get through the entire day because I got more than enough. And tomorrow morning I'll get up and I'll say the same thing. I got more than enough today. And so I begin to free myself from the entanglement to whatever's connected to this not enough. And while that is not going to change what I'm having, it changes me. And then my bandwidth becomes bigger because all of a sudden I'm memorizing a new idea, a new possibility of more than enough. And I'm slowly dissolving that old idea around insufficiency. It takes time. It takes practice. It's just like saying, well, you know, I'm going to go, I got this new doctor and he got me on these vitamins. And I took those vitamins one day. You know what? The next day, nothing happened. I'm all done with vitamins. You got to take the vitamins for a while. You got to take the whole bottle of vitamins for a while. You might have to take 10 bottles of vitamins before you see a change. Well, geez, Reverend Patrick said I see a 20% increase here. If I wrote down what I spent, I did it till Wednesday and nothing happened. Well, it's going to take a little longer than that probably, because sometimes we have a lifetime of things that we create this stuff. Number 2, welcoming. The idea of judging or otherizing, making somebody else the matter with me. Our tendency is to compare ourselves with others. We have a tendency to project our discomfort onto each other. Richard Rohr says this, and I've said it many times. Pain that is not transformed is transmitted. This is when we are otherizing. So I'm in so much pain. This is what bullies do. I'm in so much pain. I'm gonna project my pain on you. I'm in so much discomfort and so much distress and so much lack. I'm gonna otherize you. You're my problem. Holding ourselves up to a standard and diminishing ourselves or diminishing someone else. To understand that this is the effect of the cell system that runs us, we are conditioned to differentiate ourselves from one another so we can feel better about ourselves or not, depending on what our emotional addiction is. So we might be addicted to this idea of judgment and shame and blame. But when we recognize that our judgment is really about us, then we can begin to go about looking for what is missing within us. Why do I get so charged up about this when I see this person or I see this experience? What within me is missing? Because it's just life unfolding. See, the evolution, Ernest Holmes said evil will exist as long as people continue to believe in evil. We had this beautiful discussion in class the other night. And I said, it's not that the things that we interpret as evil will go away, because I think we'll always have that. But as we evolve and go up the rungs of the ladder of consciousness, our vision and how we filter it becomes different. We are changed. It doesn't mean we support it and we don't care. We care deeply. In fact, as we grow and expand in our capacity to love, there's a discomfort in seeing it, but we don't slide into the suffering. Because as soon as we slide into the suffering with another, we're no help. So we have to hold the high watch of consciousness and realize this soul signed up for this. At whatever reason, I don't know why, I don't have all the answers, but I know that this person is eternal and powerful and unlimited. They just are still asleep. And I'm not going to help them by going to sleep with them. I'm going to help them by staying awake in my own awareness and state of being and committed to who I've come here to be. And so what we do with this, when you see someone that you're judging, you're having a problem with someone, I'm going to give you the magic elixir right now. Here's a simple way to dismantle judgment in your life. And this is it. You ready? There, but for the grace of God, go I. There, but for the grace of God, go I. And if I had that belief system, and if I had those habits of being, I would be doing the same thing that person's doing. They're asleep. See, then we don't have to otherize. We can look at it without having to fight it or judge it, because they're on their journey. And we can give them a plan B by modeling who we are. Oh yeah, well yeah, I used to do that too, but now I'm over at the Center for Spiritual Living. We're trying this wacky new thing called the Q process, where we actually integrate our shadows into our wholeness, so we no longer have to act from our shadows because we've integrated everything. But if you want to keep being angry and making everybody the matter with you, you go right ahead. I just can't hang out with you. You're going to do that. Let me know if you get a chance to have that conversation. But you can have that conversation internally. We get to choose all the time. Do I want to hang out with these guys? Is this the group that I want to hang out? Is this my tribe? That's purple. But for the grace of God go I. If we hold this practice whenever we're feeling a sense of displacement between what we are feeling and what we're having, and if it feels like this is something I'm judging. Just know that if you had that mind, as I've said, of that person you're judging, if you had those beliefs, you'd be doing the same thing. Except for the grace of God go I. And that's welcoming it. I see this. There's an openness. Nothing to defend. The third one, the alchemy of time and creativity. So, anybody here struggle? Yeah, okay. Struggle is a very popular idea. In the ancient Tao Te Ching, it says the Tao does nothing, but everything that is needed gets done in the Tao. So there is a place where we can be in our lives where everything comes to us. Everything comes to us. Wouldn't that be a nice place to find, that everything comes to us? If our beliefs create our reality, what if things came to us? The right things come to us all the time. Where the effort is not trying to coax something, but instead welcoming something in, welcoming what can come to us that is a perfect alignment with our reason we were sent, and it can assist us in our awakening, because that is part of it. We have to welcome something that can be uncomfortable because it's necessary to awaken us to what is needed to be transformed. I included that in my treatment today. So this idea that it's all unicorns and rainbows, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's why we're doing the Q process here. It's uncomfortable, but we re-script it. We take an event that happened in our lives, especially in our formative years when we did not get the message that God sent us, and we re-script it. We transform it, and we start to live in a different possibility. I told Steve we had to take down the 2020 sign the other day. We're not ready to have 2020 sign up yet. We're not there. Doesn't mean we're not going to get there. I'm going to bring it back up. We're not ready. I can just tell. We have work to do. But it's still there. It's still a possibility. Well, why? Because when we bring it up and people feel like we're not fulfilling it, all of a sudden, victim gets triggered. It's nothing's happening. We can't do that. We're not good enough. I don't want that rolling around in your head. I'm going to take that picture, put it away. That's precious and sacred. I don't want you negating that with your energy. It's okay. It's an opportunity for transformation. I'd much rather have the consciousness transformed than a new building, because that's why we're here. The facility will show up as a result of consciousness, not because we force it, not because we got to make it happen because it's who we are. Yeah, boy. There's plenty of empty churches all over the world right now. It's about consciousness. So it's a distraction, and if it triggers are not enough, what's the point? Oh, let's put stuff up that triggers people. Let's force them. That's not spiritual practice. I'm hoping we get there. I'm going to get there. Guaranteed. I'm there more often than not. Welcoming what can come to us is a perfect alignment with our reason that we were sent, and we can assist in our awakening because that is a part of it. We have to welcome something that can, as I said, uncomfortable. We're here to open to that capacity. Commonly, we are in the practice of struggle when we're dealing with it's not happening now. See, struggle comes from it's not happening now. I did the prayers, I took the class, all the things I needed to do, and it's not here. We're trying to shift matter. So in order to manage time and impatience and the whole dimension of time itself, we have to shift to a different relationship with these two things, impatience and time. And to eliminate struggle in our lives. Instead of being impatient, be present. Instead of being impatient, be present. Doesn't that feel different? Just practice being present in the moment. There's an energetic feel that is so beautiful when that happens. Because when we have the experience that something is not happening, what we really need to be is present and train ourselves to be present. And dealing with time, not enough time, to know that there is divine timing, that things are going to happen when they're supposed to happen. Because we've done the work in consciousness. That's why when we brought Dr. Gary in, he said this is a 3 to 5 year process to shift the consciousness within your community. Because it's going on. What's going on here is going on everywhere. I have talked to ministers every week. They say, how you guys doing with that? I said, well, you know what? Nothing's changed, but I'm just standing in it differently. And I called Gary up and I said, we're not seeing the results here. And he said, oh yeah, the results are happening. That's why you have somebody that's not here. He's our practitioner. We have somebody that's not in it. It's not happening fast enough. He said, it's happening. It's happening. And so he gives us the pieces that we need that are appropriate because he's dialed in. He said, since my cancer, a whole window is open for me. And so he went through recovery with his cancer, but we talked to him all the time. He said, why didn't you tell us that 6 months ago? He said, well, because you weren't ready 6 months ago, but you're ready now. And so we've just learned to have this dance. So all the stuff, we're laying the foundation. We're just digging the hole right now so that we can pour the rebar and the concrete in. It's a beautiful thing. And we keep doing it. What it requires from me is a devotion and a consistency. And when I go off the rails, when I get into struggle with time and resources, I got to call somebody and say, hey man, I'm flailing here. I want to fix this and I want to control it. And he talks me off the ledge. He says, you don't have to jump off the building. It's okay. But that's our tendency. That's where we can go. And I'm so grateful to have that. So there's divine timing. And things are going to happen when they're supposed to happen. And when we want that more than we want something to happen, everything changes. Isn't that paradoxical? When we want to be more in connection with the divine plan, with the divine order, with the divine timing, and that becomes our priority, we can get the hell out of the way so something good can show up in our lives. Because forcing and struggling doesn't get us there. There's enough time. There's enough of everything. Having a life is more than enough. Not living in this struggle. The moment we begin to surrender and to welcome this dimension of ourselves, that is capable of functioning independently of obstacles and limitations in our extended environment. When we become able to work with any situation independent of time, circumstance, or feeling, we practice because it's easy to lose that state. It's very easy to lose this state. Wow, it's not happening in my time. Well, then I can be present. I don't have to be impatient. I can be present. And I can have enough spiritual practice in my life where I can dive into my connection of oneness with the source and live there. And do what's mine to do. I still got to get up and do my things. But it's our state of being. That's why this is who I've come here to be. The alchemy of creativity. What happened here? I got a Dr. Ernest Holmes quote here I want to share with you. I guess I pushed the wrong button. Well, tracking, welcoming, the alchemy of time and creativity. We are ever renewed by the passage of our divine light through our consciousness. See, when we do these things, more light can come through our consciousness. It's a washing machine. Same thing happens at John of God. The first meditation room you sit in, they call it the washing machine. And it goes through and it cleanses our consciousness. Practice of transformation, once again, tracking, welcoming, the alchemy of time and creativity. Dr. Holmes said this, in this science, the science of mind, we believe that man's life, man and women, life is a drama that takes place on 3 planes, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. We should have no objection to any form of healing, for anything that helps to overcome suffering is good. Anything that overcomes suffering is good. You need a doctor, see a doctor. You need a therapist, see a therapist. Whatever you need. So there's no limitation on this. Whether it be a pill or a prayer, we believe in any method which produces results, for each has its own place in the whole. Because he knows that God is everywhere present. God works through the medical community. God works through the prayer. If you have a practitioner in your life, it's a beautiful thing. There they are again, the 3 practices. So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to be able to track. Hey, I'm having an experience of not enough. I got to welcome it all. I got to stop otherizing and judging. And I got to deal with time, my impatience, and my struggle in a new way. So Dr. Holmes in the Living the Science of Mind, I'll leave this with you today, says this: the divine knower operates through mechanical law. This law is mind in action. When you give a prayer treatment, you should feel that all the power there is in the universe is flowing into your word. So we have practitioners here, and they're trained in this. They open themselves up. It's all, when you sit down with a practitioner and they pray for you, you're borrowing their consciousness because you're stuck in your habits. And they're looking at you and realizing, oh, that's just your habit. That's not who you are. It's tough work. It's tough work. Truth swings instantly into mechanization through your conviction. For this is the power of your treatment. Be simple and direct. That's why we teach affirmative prayer. Effective prayer treatment must be independent of any existing circumstances, for the divine creative spirit knows no circumstance. It is the creator of them. Here is the crux of the whole matter. This is why we are told never to count our enemies, but to look upon me and be saved. So many of us count our enemies. It's a very popular idea. There's lists. Watch YouTube for a while. Somebody's counting their enemies. Count your blessings. Sounds so simple, doesn't it? But it's so true, because that's the energy that we bring into our lives. Infinite possibility. So I thank you for taking this journey with me today, because it's important that we have practices, that we call ourselves back, that we track ourselves. We find ways to transform these habits, because we only have a 5% bandwidth. So if you're interested in one of these $20 books, you let me know at the end here, and I got 3 left, and we'll talk. Blessings. Thank you so much.